So it'll be on YouTube probably tomorrow. Everybody can hear me okay? Wonderful. Well, I'm Rob from Music Central. Thanks for joining us in our April wedding support chat, information chat. We have an amazing group of panelists and experts from various aspects of the wedding industry, all here, very capable to answer all of your questions to our best ability based on the knowledge that we have on the information the government gives us, which sometimes is very specific and sometimes very vague. I will let you know that we are here for you. We are an empathetic group. We are going through a lot of the things you are going through. We not only weigh your situation, but we weigh our own situations in life. So we're all kind of going through the same thing. So we're definitely sympathetic. And for most of the wedding industry, it's more about the passion of what we do than the actual business of what we do. We are here to not paint a rosy picture for you and give you false hope. We are here to be realistic. We are here to be optimistic, but we certainly don't want you to lead you down the garden path to say everything's going to be super rosy or it's going to be this or that. And then you make decisions based on that and kind of thinking, well, you said it was going to be that. So we're just trying to be as realistic as we possibly can, given the situation. And that's all we can do. So I've been given some questions in advance, so we'll be asking those throughout the course to our panelists. But certainly at any point in time that you have a question, you can either put it in the chat or you can actually just kind of come on in and verbally actually ask the question. Whatever you feel you're more comfortable with, we're happy to do that. So we are here for you. The last thing we want is you to be left with a question that's unanswered, or that you feel like, man, I don't want to ask that question because like that's very, I don't want to kind of be, that's a stupid question. You feel like it's no, there's no such thing as a stupid question. There's no such thing as something that should not be asked, because I absolutely 100% guarantee the question that you're thinking about is on the minds of about 14 other people in this room. So so definitely go ahead and ask those questions and we'll answer them again to the best of our ability. Sounds good. All right. So once again, panelists, when a question comes up, just kind of introduce yourselves. I'm not going to introduce you individually, with the exception of two people, because I know that Erin from Once Upon a Time has to leave us shortly, and we want to kind of garner her kind of expertise in the wedding dress and apparel side of things before she has to leave. And Kurt, I'm not sure what your timeline is, but on the other side of the apparel industry, on the men's side as well. So perhaps that's where we can go right now, is kind of any questions regarding wedding dresses, tuxes for the grooms, that sort of thing. So maybe Erin, if I could ask you to sort of unmute yourself and kind of give us a little bit of a synopsis of what's going on. Is there a shortage of wedding dresses? Is everything pretty much normal?
Everything is pretty much normal right now for us, with the exception of a slight delay in shipping. So much like the rest of the world, everything is moving slowly, but we aren't having any major production concerns. And we did have quite a few 2022 brides in before we closed down again this lockdown. So we do anticipate to be back at full gear as soon as we can reopen.
So all dresses, like mom's dresses, and they're all available?
We just carry bridal and bridesmaids.
Okay.
So I can only speak to those, but none of the designers we carry in our store are currently facing any major shipping delay or production delays. So
okay,
everything seems to be on schedule, except for shipping is taking a little bit longer.
Good. I'm assuming maybe because of shipping and Suez Canal and blockage, I'm sure that affected you.
More, not so much the blockage, more so just how everything is moving slowly across the country. Everybody is ordering stuff online right now. And so all the delivery drivers are just behind. So things that normally take like 2 or 3 days to ship are taking like a week to 2 weeks.
Perfect. And
Probably stuck on that container ship on the Ever Given.
yes. So you are, do you have, obviously with lockdown, you can't have people in. How are you addressing that?
So right now we're offering curbside pickup. If brides items come into the store, they're welcome to do a curbside pickup, or we're storing them until we can reopen. And then as far as new brides go, we're offering like virtual appointments right now where we can show them some dresses on mannequins and do an appointment that way. But most of our brides are just choosing to wait until the lockdowns ended so they can come in and actually try stuff on, which we fully understand.
Perfect. And certainly while we have Erin in the house, as they say, definitely feel free to ask any questions, apparel related. And Kurt, let's maybe get your side of.
Well, we're in similar boat to Erin, no production issues yet. What we are finding of late is that our friends in the United States are mostly open and really, really busy. Weddings are taking off like crazy. So, I've bought up inventory in 2020, obviously, and I'm buying up more inventory now, anticipating that it will be a shortage. So we'll be fine. We'll have supply, we'll have stock. We do encourage you to book early, of course, just in case, but we're buying up as much inventory as we can possibly handle right now, just because the States has taken off like a rocket ship and they are super busy down there. So we anticipate when things open up here, all of us are here are hoping the same thing, that we take off like crazy. So, if you do need attire for your boys, then let's get it booked as soon as we can. We can do virtual, same with Erin, we do virtual appointments. We can accommodate you. We're still doing curbside for funeral rentals and last minute weddings. So if you need something, we're definitely there and willing to help anytime you need us.
And last time there was something interesting about measuring. So you had figured out a go around.
Yeah, we do virtual measurements, and I think we are probably about 900 or almost 1,000 in, which is great. And success has been great. We offer free at-home try-on. So if you want to see an outfit and see how it looks, you can jump on Zoom with us. We'll walk you through all the measurements, and then we'll ship you a free suit to your home so you can try it on, still get pictures, still kind of get the whole idea of how it's going to look. And if you're not confident about it, we can show you about 110 NHL coaches that we've dressed, and all with great success. So if you're a hockey fan out there, I just finished a consultation with Bill today, who is one of my childhood idols anyways as a goalie. And we did it with him today, and we're going to get his suit shipped off to him tomorrow. So if we can do those guys, we can certainly accommodate you guys.
100%. Wonderful. Once again, if you have any questions for Erin and Kurt, we have them for a limited time. So get those questions in on the apparel side. Again, chat or just raise your hand and we'll be glad to accommodate you. Linda says, how do you get measured? That I'm assuming would be an Erin question.
Are you asking me? When you come into the store, then we measure you. Right now for virtual appointments. We would just suggest you have a cloth tape and we can walk you through that. It's just a couple quick measurements. We do a Zoom or a FaceTime call and just walk you through that.
Oh. For Kurt, I guess.
Very similar. So if you need measurements done, we just have a soft tape measure and we'll walk you through all the measurements, same idea. If it's a last minute thing, you need it for a rush, we can do a curbside measurement. Obviously safer to do it over Zoom if you can, but if not, then we can do a curbside measurement if absolutely necessary for last minute rentals for sure.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So speak now or forever hold your peace for Erin and Kurt. If you guys Erin and Kurt, you have to kind of disappear.
We do have another question for Kurt. How far in advance should the guys start shopping with possible shipping delays?
Well, for our rental side of things, we own all the inventory, so there won't be any shipping delays for that. If you're in London or area, obviously. If you're looking to purchase, same thing. We own a lot of our inventory, so there won't be any shipping delays. But we do offer a 100% refund cancellation up to 3 days before your event. So there's no real harm in booking early. So if you want to get the guys in and get perfect measured, then there's no harm in doing so.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we have pretty much every aspect of the wedding industry covered here tonight, which is great. Maybe rentals, I think, is one that's missing. But other than that, tried my best to get everybody, all the bases covered. All right, so let's move. We don't really have as much structure as we had in March, but I did kind of want to go through what changed. And obviously that was, we're in lockdown and we're in gray. So maybe if we could kind of lean on our panelists to kind of explain what that all means as far as our limitations in this current lockdown mode, and how long that's going to be, like, to that what's, and again, I'm asking questions. I know the answers, but I'm asking them anyway because I want to make sure everybody knows. So when is the official lockdown end?
I believe it's May 20th, is it not?
Yeah, the plan is currently May 20th.
Perfect. All right. So Gray, what, actually, I'm going to backtrack for 2 seconds. We have quite a few people in. And if you could do us a favor, you don't have to be specific on your wedding date, even if you wanted to be general and say, type in like 5 for May and 6 for June and 7, or you can put your actual wedding day, whichever you feel comfortable with. But maybe if you could take 2 seconds, and just so we have a guideline of when everybody's getting married.
End of July, end of June. Oh, lots of ends of July, June. Oh, and April 30th, 2022. They've got lots of time. July 3rd, August 1st, September 12th, August 14th, September 18th, July 24th, October, and just changed to August 21st.
So I
July
see
24th.
I saw 1 June.
A lot of Julys.
A lot of Julys. And 1 May. Okay. May and a June and mostly Julys. Perfect. Okay. So thank you. That helps guide
I
us.
think that May was in relation to the question of when does lockdown end?
Oh, thanks, Mary.
Yes.
Read carefully, Rob. All right. So go ahead, panelists, experts. Tell us what a wedding in gray looks like.
A wedding in gray or a wedding in the current lockdown?
Situation where we are right now.
Okay. So in this current situation, your wedding can only be a maximum of 10 people. That includes you, your witnesses, and your officiant. And that's really it. You can have your ceremony and no reception, no meal. You just get married and call it a day, I guess.
So probably not the wedding everybody dreams of.
No, probably not.
All right, and that gets us to May.
Does that include the photographer?
All of your vendors now would be included in that 10-person maximum. 10 people, no matter if they're vendors or not, it is 10 people total. All of your vendors are included.
In this,
And unfortunately with photography, right now, there are no specific guidelines that say absolutely no to wedding photographers. However, I did actually contact at the beginning of this most recent stay-at-home order. I contacted, the health unit, Mackie, and he, said that no, we cannot in London be doing weddings or outdoor portrait shoots. So yeah, for photographers, not right now, technically. So, and obviously there's big fines for everyone if you do decide to go ahead with it, but yeah, try and talk to your vendors and hopefully, like, as we know that as long as the stay-at-home order isn't in place. So if we're just in like the emergency break or gray or any of the other colors, then yes, wedding photography is allowed to be done. And the good thing about photography is obviously it doesn't matter how big your wedding is, how many guests there are, there's still going to be all those moments to be captured throughout the whole day. So right from getting ready all the way through to the reception where you're doing like your trivia games or any other things that you're doing safely at the reception. So
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, so anybody want to add to that as far as clearly probably weddings, unless it's intimate and just family and the officiant photographers, probably that's about it for until May 20th.
The other thing to think about is that all guests and anybody attending this 10-person ceremony that you plan to have during this lockdown need to be wearing masks or face coverings of some sort. It's like typically during all of the other zones, I know at Caradoc, we're kind of allowing for picture's sake for bridal parties to not have to wear face masks because you want to be able to see their smiling faces while they're staring at you getting married. But at this point, you have to be wearing masks. There's no leeway on that one, just because you want to make sure you're staying safe, especially during this lockdown.
Something else to consider is, while it hasn't specifically been stated in the framework, as most things haven't, you are still only allowed your own household on your property. So at your home, you are still only allowed the people who live there, even if it is a wedding ceremony. If you wanted to still have your ceremony during this lockdown, it needs to be at a private, or it needs to be at a staffed venue or a church. It still can't take place on your property. Legally.
Legally. All right. And I will totally let you guys know that we have probably some of the most informed vendors on the planet. And in fact, if I asked Kate to pull out all the rule book, she probably would have it almost instantaneously.
They're old copies because I'm working from home. I don't have a printer.
Okay.
I have the legislation pulled up on my other monitor here, so in case we need
Super
to
handy.
get a quick find.
They've gone through it, so it's not like we're winging it here.
We have two questions.
Erica, our what did I call you? Our chat room girl?
Chat lady.
Yes, chat lady or chat girl. We have a question. Are there requirements now for lockdown or any colored zones around wearing eye protection? Not that I am aware of as yet.
Only for staff.
Oh, is there eye protection now for staff?
For serving staff, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Thank you. I've been wearing face shields, so. Realistically, are we going to be June 1st for lockdown? I organize a festival and they say not opening before May 24th.
That's kind of the idea in the industry, is that nothing's going to open before that May 2-4 long weekend. Everything will probably happen after that. But the government has said May 20th, and I have my fingers crossed.
Is it Riley? I think Riley's might be correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Amy, do you have that? Do you have anything to pull up and share with us as far as your amazing graphics?
I can. Give me a second. I have 900,000 tabs open.
You just
like your brain most of the time.
Yeah, that's more than 900,000.
Oh, Riley says hi, Amy.
Hi, Riley.
Hi, Riley.
Which one do you want? Do you want the bad one or the slightly better one?
The slightly better one.
All right, so that would be this one.
We're being cautiously optimistic here.
Oh, I also want to just point something out to everybody. In the framework with the color codes, it does say at the top right now that the stay-at-home order, that the declaration of emergency and province-wide stay-at-home order in effect The COVID response framework color-coded zone is currently on pause during this time. Now, I just might be reading into this, but I feel like that means that they're going to be reworking the framework when we open back up again. So just wanting to put that 2 cents out there on the world.
For weddings.
Sorry?
Now, this graphic is available on the Unmistakably You website, or at least on your Facebook, Amy, and I think it's on, well, I know it's on the Music Central newsletter, so.
I can
We were told for tourism they're reworking the framework, which seems reasonable because I feel like they keep changing it once they've released the zones and reworking it that way. So maybe it's best if they start with a fresh slate.
I guess more I just wanted to like say take Amy's lovely gorgeous graphs with a grain of salt, I guess is really
Agreed. Right.
What we currently are aware of.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Amy. Once again, available.
Whatever it's
Amy
worth.
can send you that, or you can find it on her Facebook group.
We're definitely anticipating some kind of a change after the 20th. So I would expect, especially with the new variants arriving in London, that I don't know what it's going to look like after May 20th.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I mean it's tough for us, right, as vendors, because we like to have all the answers, but we can only have as many answers as realistically as possible. And
Amy's graphs are awesome, and we always look forward to seeing the new ones when they come out. They're super handy.
Yes, they are.
I
All right.
can tell I'm super looking forward to reading the new legislation.
I'm sorry.
So realistically, July, because we have a lot of July brides here, we're looking at, I mean, let's be realistic, but optimistic at the same time. We're looking at what? Orange, green?
I'm thinking at least orange. I wouldn't say green if we're thinking that we're going to be in lockdown till June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's going to be closer to orange, which I'm hoping it's orange. I don't think it will be red. I think red is a little too far. I think orange at least, but orange isn't that much better than red.
Well,
I think it depends on the area.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went into lockdown and we're in here on Perth. So we were in yellow when this lockdown happened. So I think it would be pretty, I think that there would be a lot of upset people if we came out of this in anything higher than what we went into it as. Unless the numbers dictate, obviously, but I don't think they will.
Realistically, unless, like, we're assuming that they are going to modify the restrictions in each color zone, but realistically, there's not a whole lot of difference between anything above red and green. It affects the number of people you can seat together and the time that your bar closes. But in terms of overall numbers, there aren't currently a whole lot of differences. So.
And I know we've chatted about this before in the other meetings, but maybe we can talk about food and what that all means in the various categories. Because we have a lot of new people here, so.
Okay, so buffets are not allowed at all for anything at this point. Everything has to be serviced. Your guests must be seated when eating and drinking. They really are to be seated the entire time they're at the reception. It depends on your...
Sorry, Kate, that includes cocktail hours.
Sorry, Jess?
That includes cocktail hours. Like, your guests have to be seated if you're doing a cocktail hour with food and drink as well. They must be seated to consume anything.
Okay, we also have a question. Can a wedding cake still be out on display?
It's kind of a gray area. What I am suggesting at this point is having a cutting cake that is on display, and then maybe a slab cake or cupcakes or something to be brought out. I personally don't think that a cake that people are looking over should be cut up and then served to people. But there is nothing specifically written in the framework. It just depends on your venue.
Erin has to leave, but it was nice seeing her. One of our errands, I apologize. We have two tonight.
Wonderful. Well, I have a question from, I'm not going to say who. And while I'm doing this, does anybody else have anything else to say? Speak now.
Vicky, what's on your mind?
Hi, Becky. Becky is Aaron Woodgate's dog.
He says, Mama, you don't wear makeup anymore. What's that smell like?
Both my dogs wanted to lick off my makeup today too. Oh, and there's a ween dog.
All right,
You
I
like-
found the question.
I feel like for everyone's upliftingness,
Yes.
we should all bring up our pets.
Our pets and our drinks.
Office right now, that's not happening.
Drinks are welcome. If you're drinking in this, in the background, that's perfectly fine.
I want to see Steve's goose.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
go get the goose.
Where's
I'm
Honker?
gonna go grab a Chardonnay and a fish then, I guess. I
Go
don't know.
get the
Yeah. Sorry, he doesn't come in the house.
We need to make those exceptions on these calls.
All right, my question for the crew is wondering if you could talk about payments. How does it work if we are forced to cancel our weddings less than a month before the wedding? Do we still have to pay our full contract amount?
That will depend solely on your vendors and your venue. Like, in all honesty, that will just depend on who you're working with your wedding. It's kind of
And in your contract.
sorry.
And what you signed in your contract.
Yes, what your contract says, because I know that Caradoc does things different from Exeter Golf, and I know it does things differently from Oakwood and all of the other venues, and I know that Woodgate Photography probably does something different than HRM Photography, and it's just dependent on who your vendors are. It's completely and solely dependent on who your vendors are, what your contracts say, and what you guys have talked about already.
Yeah, there's no black or white answer in this. It completely depends. I know through Oakwood, you would not have to pay the entire contracted price, but it would still, your deposit's non-refundable, so you wouldn't get your deposit back. But again,
yeah, I don't think she's talking about necessarily deposit. I think she's talking about the full payment. If it's
Like if
literally you're down to the wire and it's a month before.
Like if you've made like a payment schedule and like have paid so much until this point.
Yeah.
Again, I honestly think it depends on your contract and what you and your vendor have talked about before and how things are going. All in all, just make sure that you are being in constant contact with your vendors and making sure that you guys are all on the same page. That is like number one in any of this COVID rule books that we've been writing in our heads, is staying with communication. The worst thing that can happen is for you to just post something on a Facebook group and have your vendors find out that way. Like, that doesn't make us feel happy. That doesn't make your life any easier, because now we're a little grumpy that you didn't come to us first. But at the same time, we are also here to help you and try and figure out how your wedding is going to happen any way that we possibly can. We are not here to take your money and run away with it and spend it on frilly stuff. We are here to make sure your wedding happens. We are not here for our wedding. We are not here for anybody else's wedding except for yours. We are here to make sure that your day is your day, regardless of what that looks like. We just want to make sure it's the way you want it to be, regardless of COVID or anything. So just making sure that you're in communication 100%.
I also just wanted to add, like, I think obviously different vendors will have different varying, lengths they'll go to, but I think if it's a government, like the stay-at-home order gets reintroduced or extended or whatever, then I think that's different compared to just if we are allowed to be having the 50 people also. Yeah, in my mind anyway. And yeah, just like what Jess said about being in contact, and if you're thinking about rescheduling your July wedding, like, tell your vendors that you're thinking about it, just so that if they have someone else who's last minute booking, then they can then recontact you and say, actually, I have someone else looking. Have you made any kind of decision? And go from there. So, yeah.
And I think, Erin, that's a really valid point. Like, nobody is out to screw anybody else over, but everybody has this innate need to protect themselves. And I'm seeing a lot of this where couples are saying, well, we've got dates booked at 2 different venues and we're going to hang on to the second one and we're going to hope that we can do the first one, but we're not going to cancel the second one until we know what things look like. And I ultimately think in weddings and in life, transparency and honesty are important. So please be honest with your vendors. And I fully get the self-preservation need, but by protecting yourself, you are ultimately screwing over other people, and not necessarily selfishly, but that's the end result. So just be very cognizant of the fact that your vendors are trying to work with you and for you and do the best they can for you. And if you are not being honest with them, you are potentially damaging their livelihood.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just talking about deposits, certainly 99% of us would say they are transferable but non-refundable. Only because for most of the wedding vendors, our business has been cut as much as 85%. So it's like dealing with a 15% of what you would normally get paid, which barely pays, you know, the bills. Well, it doesn't pay the bills. So that deposit was probably long spent on a hydro bill or, you know, some kind of something just to keep us afloat. So I would say, and you know, the first thing I want to say is, yeah, of course you can have your deposit back, sure, but you know, in reality you can't, because and that just makes me feel bad and it makes me feel like crap because I have to say no to somebody, and that's not my nature to say no to people. So we would probably just say, you know, probably deposit. In most cases, it's non-refundable. It's just, unfortunately, and that's just part of, you know, any deposit in any industry. That's just the nature of the beast. So
we do have a good question in the chat for you though, Rob.
Yes, we're going to get that's Marissa. We're going to get to that in a sec. And
oh, okay.
I just don't want to leave the deposit and the sort of the money thing before we've kind of taken care of it. And Riley has asked a question as well, I believe, Erica.
No, she didn't ask a question. She more just made a point, which I appreciate.
Oh.
Me too. Great point.
And it's good to recognize too that a lot of couples who've postponed from 2020 to 21 and now to 22 or 23 potentially booked in 2018, and vendors in a lot of cases are doing the best that they can to try and honor the original price quoted. But we're now looking 4 years into the future of just regular inflationary price increases. And so being reasonable and expecting someone to work for a price that was 4 years in the past is challenging at the best of times, much less asking for a deposit back. So yeah. I know I'm preaching to the choir, probably.
Yeah, we certainly have changed things. That's administration, right? That's time that we spent with emails back and forth and administration and changing paperwork, and for absolute sure. So any other questions regarding deposits, payments, contracts? I know certainly there has been some, maybe not within ours, but there's certainly, if you changed it once or twice to the new date, there is another administration fee. I know some of the vendors have been charging that. So that might be something you come across. A rebooking fee, if you will. I know it's something that we haven't done here at Music Central, but I know certain vendors have. So cool. All right. So yeah, so Marissa had a question about DJing. So while I'm answering that question, I know Amy has an amazing, yet another graphic that she could display. regarding things to do versus dancing. So
Sorry, Rob, I didn't pull any of these up because I kind of feel like it's not that revolutionary anymore, but just let me find it. Hang on.
yeah, but yet we have new people here. So
I know.
Just before we get into this, Kate has a question.
Oh,
Erica,
There's so many Kates.
and it's the same different spelling. I guess I'm
I
old.
must also say, I know that we're going to answer this question, but there's a Kate Lind in the group too today, and I've never seen another one. So this has been a revolutionary chat for me.
Okay.
It's like going through the pickup place where all the little keychains are, and you can never find your name. Here, you're hitting gold here.
I am.
Rob, you have never had that problem.
No. No. All right. Did we answer that question?
I'm just trying to find the correct verbiage that I want to speak to it in. But from my understanding, private residence is only up to 25 people across all zones right now, if I'm not mistaken. Now, anyone can tell me I'm wrong, but I believe it's up to 25 people at a private residence for orange through green.
Yeah. That was the big change from this year to last.
Yes. So, yeah, you can only have up to 100 people outside if you're at a staffed venue of some sort. And that 25 does include, yes, it does include vendors in that 25. Where when you're at a staffed venue that has staff, your vendors are not included in that 100 people or 50 people if you're inside.
I think where the confusion comes in is that the legislation differentiates ceremony from social gathering, and in ceremony it doesn't necessarily make the distinction between staffed venue or non-staffed venue. So that's where the can you have 100 people on private property thing comes in, because they haven't explicitly, to my knowledge, stated no. But I think the assumption is that in declaring that you can only have 25 people for a social gathering, then the extrapolation of that is that you should only have 25 for a ceremony. So currently it says, to my knowledge, as many as can social distance, or that's what it said before the lockdown anyway. But I think safety is the first and foremost, and we should probably not try to look for the loophole and just be, you know, if they're specifying 25 for a social gathering, they probably shouldn't exceed that for a ceremony. But
I love that Riley is answering questions in the chat for us.
Riley,
She's on that.
Riley's our rock star. She's been with us since last year. She could probably answer these questions better than we could, to be honest. So Riley, you just keep going, girl.
Yeah, but I would assume that Civic Gardens Outdoor would be considered that's kind of iffy, because are you contacting Civic Gardens to find out if you can have a ceremony there, or are you just doing it there? Because at that point, then you could have people seeing you and calling the cops on you just because you're in a public place.
And you can't actually book the outdoor space at Civic Gardens. Even if you've booked the indoor space at Civic Gardens, you cannot reserve the gazebo, for instance, outside. It's a public park. So it's just like any other public park. It's first come, first serve, and it's unstaffed.
Mm-hmm. And I'm leaving out Brianna because she's one of our OGs too. So way back. So we love y'all. Kate, last month you had an excellent explanation of what could happen and could not happen based on terrace room and terrace, like inside, outside. Maybe you could elaborate on that, because it was a great kind of, that kind of paints a great picture.
So at Oakwood, we have our terrace room that has an attached terrace deck. Prior to COVID, the room itself had 220 person capacity, and the deck itself had technically a 300 person, but it doesn't make sense to do that. So in the current, or the regulations that we were experiencing, you could have 100 people on the deck for your ceremony, but only 50 people inside for your reception. If you decided to do your reception outside, then you could have your 100 and 100, but you could not access indoors. So once you exceed the 50-person limit, you cannot use the indoor space at all. So to have 100 people, you're outside strictly the entire night. If you had 50 people, then you have access to both inside and outside. You are not allowed to combine spaces. You're not allowed to have separate rooms, and you're not allowed to have seatings. So you can't have 50 people in the morning and 50 people in the afternoon. It's not allowed. So it's specifically written in at this point.
Yeah, and I would love to say there's lots of loopholes, but
they're catching all of them.
Encouraging you from using loopholes at this point.
Mhm.
Another thing for outdoor weddings is to be aware of how many panels on your tent you can have. I think it's only two. And beyond that, it's considered technically indoors. So as you're planning and booking panels and stuff for your outdoor wedding, it is 2. So if you're looking at getting married in a drive shed, because it's got the 3 walls, that's considered indoors.
Also, your tables still need to be the 6 feet apart. So your typical tent size needs to essentially double.
Also, that 6 feet apart also applies to your head table, which is something I forgot about completely. And that applies that 6 feet apart and only allowing 4 to 6 to however many people sitting at each table. Yeah, really. Yeah. Yeah.
Riley, we got a surprise from her. I didn't think we could do that.
That includes your head table. So if you have a 10-person head table and we're in orange where you can only have 4 people at a table, you have 4, 6 feet, 4.
Yes. So I'm recommending instead of having a large head table, doing a sweetheart table and then a table with bridesmaids and a table with groomsmen.
We're okay with the language. It's
That's
fine.
okay. Yeah, we're.
Brianna, there is
same
not
household thing.
There's not a same household rule for weddings. Is it recommended? Yes.
Yes.
But nothing has been written. The one thing your venue does need to do is that every person attending the event does need to leave their contact information.
This isn't a loophole, but I was just thinking to myself, what if it's like a lean-to? Like it's in a venue, but it's a lean-to. I would like Jess, maybe Caradoc, the patio is technically kind of it has 3 sides open, right?
Our cottage villa has 4 sides open.
No, but beside your ballroom.
Oh, it's technically 3 if you're including the garage door side as like a full wall. So yeah, 3 sides open. Yeah. But we're not even using that for weddings this year. It's just too risky. It's also not that big. It's not like we can have a full outdoor wedding on that. We can only have like 12 people.
Cool. All right, getting to Marissa's question about DJing. That's my
circle back to that.
Circle back to that. Did not forget about you, Marissa. I guess music is huge, right? Thank you, Amy. Music is huge. Think of it as a soundtrack. Or if people are dancing, that's great. But if they're not dancing, they're still enjoying the music. Think of, this is a kind of an example I use all the time, is if you are going to a house party, there's lots of drinks flowing around, there's some nachos, and there's some great tunes. But if you look around, there's not very often much dancing going on. But people are like bobbing their heads and have, oh, that's a great tune, and they're kind of emotionally kind of digging that music. Oh, that's a great one. I remember that, and all those sort of things. So music, even though there's no dancing, is still a huge part of the day. And of course, I'm biased about that, but it is really. I mean, if you took, for example, you're watching a movie and you took the music out of it, the soundtrack, it would be a whole different experience. Extremely different. It would be weird. Same thing with people ask me, like, do we really need dinner music or cocktail music? I don't think I've ever noticed it. And I always say, well, if there wasn't, you would notice it. It's the soundtrack. It's the canvas to which the conversation gets laid upon. So it's hugely important throughout the entire day. Will, in most situations, probably we go till 1 o'clock? No, we'll probably go till 11 because there isn't, everybody's having a great time. They've had a few drinks. We've done some trivia. We've done, some games. We've done various other things to entertain your guests, and just kind of reviewing through Amy's wonderful graphics here. There's tons and tons of things to do. As a DJ is also an MC. He's very used to being in front of a crowd. He's controlling the crowd, being the master ceremonies, and entertaining in that way without music, right? If I was to do it, I would certainly have pockets. So I would have a pocket of entertainment, maybe a game, and then have some music, right? Take a little bit of a 15, 20-minute break. The MC is always explaining what's coming up next so that people can anticipate that and look forward to it. But then you go into the next segment, which could be, the shoe game, for example, or something along those lines. So I would not kind of lump it all together. I would spread it out throughout the evening. But to answer your question, Marissa, I think music is absolutely an essential part of a full day of enjoying your day. And if you took that music out of the soundtrack, it would be a whole different experience.
The other thing with having a DJ is like, so I'm not sure, I don't think any of you guys, other than maybe a couple of you, have been here before, but I'm also getting married this year. I was 2020 bride, now a 2021 bride. And my mom is so excited to seat dance. She is like over the moon about having to seat dance. She is just so excited that she gets to just like jam in her seat. I don't know if anybody else's moms or friends or family members are also up to doing that, but it does still, like, you are still dancing. You're just not getting up and dancing, I guess, is the way you can. Yeah, chair dancing, Linda. It's great. The other thing is when people think, oh, well, I can just get an iPod and rent a speaker. You are now having people touch that iPod, then they're not probably wiping it down because they want to put on whatever music they want to put on, where a DJ is being very sanitary in that sense.
Tech difficulties, speakers that don't work and mics that don't work. And is this on? Can you hear me? No, somebody go troubleshoot. Oh, the mic's not plugged in. It's a nightmare. Hire a professional. Please.
I can speak from experience. We had one wedding this summer that canceled their DJ very last minute and I didn't know. And I ended up having to MC the evening, and I am not as cool as Rob, and it did definitely not flow as well as it would have with him there. It takes a very special person to be able to keep the energy of the room going, and your DJ can do that. So
I 100% bombed when I did MCing. Oh, it was bad.
Well, it's that deep Southern drawl, Aaron. That's
yeah, the real deep South, like extra down undery South.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I will just, again, I'm not sure if Marissa, hopefully we've answered your question, but if I just as far as DJs, RMCs, that's their natural element. That's what we rehearse for that. And even if I am personally not the MC, trust me, there's a lot of things I'm doing behind the scenes to coach the MC to make that day go smooth. So you don't see it. Nobody sees it. The MC knows that I've been coaching him or her what to say, do this, maybe you should be doing that. But that's part of my mission, my passion is to make that event go as smoothly as possible. Do I have to be the star and say, no, that was me, I did that? No, I just want it to go amazing. So if I make the MC, the actual MC, Uncle Bob or whoever it is, look fantastic, then I've done my job. So Marissa, hopefully we answered your question. And I think, Erica, I think there's a couple more questions in the...
Yes, there was some talk about the wedding party being able to get ready together and take pictures together, but having to be separated outdoors at the head, or being separated at tables, even if outdoors. It was kind of covered within the chat, like the getting ready. I guess that's something that it has been an issue from my standpoint, doing hair and makeup. Like in red, it's 5 people and you're all masked and you're all distanced, and yeah. And that can be an issue, especially if you're getting ready and you have several bridesmaids and a mom and all of that. That is also something to keep in mind as far as keeping the number of people in your room down to those numbers. But yeah, chair dancing, we covered that. I know we don't know the answer, but do you foresee the 100 outdoors, 50 indoors changing to lower numbers for red or orange zones if they are reworking the framework? I am hopeful for orange green for the end of July with those numbers. Does anybody want to venture to guess what the government's going to throw at us post-lockdown?
We don't know. It's as much as we all wish that we had a crystal ball or we had some sort of telepathic, like future seeing power ability, we don't know. Did we think we were going to go into a third lockdown? No, we didn't. We all thought we were going to be better than this at this time. So really, we don't know what's going to happen. And unfortunately, we're just going to have to kind of roll with the punches at this point.
Okay, Linda actually has something to contribute out loud. This is awesome.
Well, there you go. I don't know if much contribute. So not only am I getting married August 1st, Erin will know if she thinks I organize a festival. So I run the Wiener Fest Home County Festival. So basically picture 7,000 people, 1,000 wiener dogs, and you got the festival. April 15th, we were allowed to have a virtual Zoom meeting with Lisa McLeod, who is the tourism minister for Ontario. And basically, you think planning a wedding is crazy, try planning a festival. So we got together and said, please tell us what's going on. So we had a heart-to-heart chat with her saying, basically, we were the first one hits. We are going to be the last to recover. They're looking at a 5-year plan for us to recover for festivals. So we said, what about this year? And basically they outlined for us that probably realistically, because he's not going to open before May 2-4, June 1st, we will be coming out of lockdown, going into gray. She said it will be 2 weeks of gray, then probably 2 weeks of red. She said we probably will get to orange, but she said then July 1st will come up. So for July 1st, they're concerned about that variant changing again. So she said we'll probably stay in that orange for a bit and stay in that orange probably until at least the vaccines are coming in. So what they're looking at is changing it from 25 to 15. So basically we said that there's no festivals or events for this year. Unfortunately, we're all starting to cancel now and just putting out everything. So, but for group gatherings, and she goes, anything, she said 100 outside if you can socially distance. But the other thing that's come into play that as organizers, that's going to affect brides as well, is liability. There are people now suing people that have gone to weddings and have caught COVID, especially in Toronto area, are now suing the couples because they've contracted because they did not take enough reasonable responsibility to keep their participants safe. So we've been really exploring that whole insurance piece. If we hold a festival, how can we ensure that we're doing our best to keep everyone safe? So that's going to be coming into play. So realistically, we're looking, she said, probably staying in the orange. Maybe if we get to yellow, she said, by the end of August, we'll be hopeful that way, she said. So that's what they're kind of looking at, she said, with the numbers, with the tourism and stuff at the moment.
Thanks. So
thank you for that
inside information. Probably not what we wanted to hear, but nonetheless.
Sorry.
And I was laughing because Riley made a comment, but I really been leaning into a bag. So I was not laughing at the situation. I was laughing at the comment.
I'm laughing at the situation. Trust me.
Yeah. Good. Right. Yeah. So I
want to keep a sense of humor.
Certainly, we're one of the hardest hit sectors for sure, but I definitely festivals and concerts and live music and travel, all very hard hit, tourism in general, right? So tough. All right, so we're going to try to wrap up. Erica, do you have any?
We have some questions coming through that
all right, well, bring them up.
Went real fast there.
And it looks like Laura has had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see a hand.
Go ahead,
Is it
Laura.
Mental hand up.
Maybe that was a high five.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Oh, wrong button. Go ahead, Erica.
what are the rules for number of people who can get ready at a private residence in the different color zones? Offhand, I recall that red was 5, I believe. Is that correct, Amy? I feel like gray and lockdown are none. You can't have anybody outside your house in your house.
5 in red and 10 above that.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember where it went from red.
Excellent. And there was another officiant wearing masks, I think, question during your wedding as a bride and groom.
Do the bride and groom have to wear masks during the ceremony?
I think from recalling from Jody, I think no.
So no, technically you do not have to, as long as you're keeping your 6-foot distance. I think the thought behind it is that it could muffle the speech of your officiant. So you just keep your distance. Try not to be as close.
Sorry, Kate. Bonus. I forgot. I keep thinking Kate Oakwood, but I keep forgetting Kate officiant.
Also officiant.
Yeah.
The other thing that Jody was at least telling me and my fiance was that if she has a couple that feels uncomfortable, even if it's 6 feet with her without a mask, she will obviously still wear a mask. So if you are feeling uncomfortable in any situation that you want your vendors to be wearing masks when maybe you typically wouldn't have them be wearing masks, you are more than welcome to ask them to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Every single wedding I've done since this all started, which is like, 6, have had that conversation with their officiant, and it's usually a very open conversation about everybody's comfort level.
It all comes back to communication with your vendors. all in all, and just making sure that we're understanding exactly where you guys are coming from and vice versa is really the biggest thing.
2 great takeaways from this is A, you're not alone, right? There's all sorts of people that are going through the exact same thing. In fact, of our experts, we've got Emily is getting married in September and Jessica's getting married in September. So not only do they know from that side of the business, but they also know from a bride's perspective. So yeah, you are definitely not alone. And secondly, we are 100% here for you to make sure that we get through this as much as we, as smoothly as we possibly can. And, it's very draining. It's very stressful. We totally realize. And sometimes you just need to vent, and sometimes you need somebody to vent too. So we're here for you. As you could probably, and I can sense I'm very empathetic in an empath. So I can sense in even our vendor group that there's a little bit of, we're skating on thin ice here as far as emotionally. We've had a tough, we thought for sure we'd be out of this by now. And here we are still entrenched in it. And we're still trying to give positive energy out to you. But, it's taking its toll. So if we're not as positive and jolly as we normally are, it's only because we're starting to see the cracks are starting to develop in the ice.
There's only so much plaster we can throw on.
Yeah, so bear with us. Hopefully we look for a deep freeze in the ice. The cracks freeze over again. So
doggy hugs. Doggy hugs help.
Doggy hugs help, yes, and wine.
Rob, if you could just stop with the snow and ice analogies. Like, is this your fault?
Yeah, are you the reason we're having winter at this point? Well, I had a bonfire 2 years ago this day.
So what you're saying, like Frozen, like let it go?
Let it go.
Oh, just cue it. All right, so I had to throw at least one dad joke in this. All right, if there aren't any other questions, we will call it a wrap. We will, based on the numbers, be doing this again. If our expert panelists don't mind, and I from my heart, thank all of you for participating. You are fantastic.
Thank you, Linda.
That was all of you for joining us. This is I think ever, and maybe we should check with Riley because she knows, and Brianna, whether this is our best number yet.
I think it is, honestly.
I believe it is with 29. I think there was 30 in the room at one point. So
there was 31 at one point.
but that goes to the point of it's needed, right? People are grasping and they're reaching for answers and solutions and hope. They're looking for some hopium. So that is the truth. So we will do this again. So the question to our group is, would you prefer it after the 20th or before the 20th? So the May, that would be, let me see, that would be the 19th or the 26th. Do we have a vote?
I think after would be best, because then if there is any changes to the framework, we can address it.
Mhm.
This
You'll have
would be
6
my
days
pick.
to absorb it.
It is unanimous. I don't think anybody said before.
After it is. So ladies and gentlemen, the 26th of May on the Wednesday, 8 o'clock, we will be creating another meeting for your
I'll
support.
put the sticker on.
What's that?
I'll put the sticker on the calendar.
Awesome. Little gold sticker.
Meeting.
There. That's Kate, who teaches her kids at home now. So she has lots of stickers to provide. All right, we're going to call it. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. We will have a graphic and lots of advance notice. But put in your calendars, put a sticker if you want, whatever that you want. The 26th of May. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, and just to repeat once again, this will be on YouTube on the Music Central channel either tomorrow or the next day.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.